Before we dive in, just a quick note. I'm 64. I'm just going through Medicare now. It's complicated, and too many people wind up in the wrong plan, paying more than they should. That's why I trust Chapter. They're independent. They search every plan. They advocate for you, not the insurance companies. They've already saved my audience thousands, and they can help you. Dial pound 250 and say Dinesh to connect with a Chapter advisor. That's pound 250, keyword Dinesh. Hey, coming up, Debbie and I are going to do our Friday roundup, and we're going to discuss the catastrophe in Texas this past week. We're going to talk about the elusive Epstein List, the unknown parts of the big, beautiful bill, Mamdani socialism, and perhaps the Venezuela model, and how Hollywood is doing its best to sink the new Superman movie. Hey, if you're watching on YouTube, X, or Rumble, listening on Apple or Spotify, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscribe, the follow, the notifications button. I'd appreciate it. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
America needs this voice. The times are crazy. In a time of confusion, division, and lies, we need a brave voice of reason, understanding, and truth. This is the Dinesh D'Souza podcast.
Debbie and I are all, well, I notice, honey, we're color coordinated and ready to hit our Friday roundup. And I also noticed with the weather getting somewhat more on the humid side, your hair is going into 80s style. You were just making a comment that you just had your hair done. It was all very slick.
Yeah, you blow dry it straight, and it's like, I have straight hair. And then this morning we went for a walk, and boom. I'm like, okay, that's
Well, I noticed that when times we've gone to tropical areas like Hawaii, your hair goes, I think we call it island girl. It's kind of your island girl style, right?
Yes.
So,
yes.
All right. Well, let's start. We're going to start on a little bit of a somber note because this week we had the terrible,
a week ago.
The catastrophic flooding, the Guadalupe River. Over 100 casualties.
I think they're probably going to be about 300 casualties by the time this is all over.
Because you're saying a lot of the missing.
There's a lot of missing people. But one thing I wanted to say, of course, it's been a year since my mom passed away.
Right.
And
that's right.
Dealing with sorrow and grief, I can only imagine. I've only lost my parents, and aunts and uncles, but I can only imagine what these people are going through, having lost their children. In some cases, entire families didn't come home.
Right.
So our thoughts and prayers are with them.
You told me one case of a woman whose husband had died, and partly to help her daughter cope with it, she said, okay, I'll send you off to camp.
Yeah.
And then the little girl dies.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, how sad is that?
I can't even imagine. And I actually have a friend, and she's more. She grew up in Harlingen, and her granddaughter was one of the victims at Camp Mystic. Her name is Lila, and her name is Lila Bonner, and her parents have set up a GoFundMe. So if you happen to read this and you'd like to help, they've actually set up a fund it's called Lila's Light. And it's just basically to help animals affected by natural disasters, because apparently she was an animal lover. She loved animals so much, and they feel like this would be something that she would want. And they have raised a lot of money for this cause. This is not for them.
They have $400,000. You said approximately so far already.
Yeah, and it's to honor their daughter, which I can only imagine. And it anyway. So her grandmother is the one that we are connected to. Yeah, my friend Megan is good friends with her grandmother. And wow. I knew her back from Harlingen.
The interesting thing about all this is that the this river, the Guadalupe River, has been for a long time the site of this Christian camp. In fact, I think you said it's something like 100 years.
Over 100 years, yeah.
But apart from the camp, there are lots of people who just go and camp out by the river.
Mm-hmm.
And but you had this unprecedented swelling of the river. What was it? Something like,
I think 26 feet over the banks, I believe.
And in a 1 hour period.
45 minutes.
Which is just downright insane.
Insane.
And now the river has overflowed before.
Yes, in the 80s, I do remember I was in college, and I think I don't even remember if it was summer school or around there, but it swelled up a lot.
I mean, you were at Texas State, so you were in that hill country
I was in the
area.
hill country. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And but you said it didn't happen on the 4th of July.
Yeah, and so that's why I mean, there were a lot of people that were affected by it, but it wasn't a holiday weekend.
Right.
Which I think is what makes it even more catastrophic,
right.
You know? And because this river has been known to swell like that. I mean, it does. It swells. But you know, everyone is blaming, you know, well, in one instance, they blamed the sheriff of Travis County. He is apparently a Democrat. Apparently, he's into the whole DEI thing.
Well, I mean, Austin is a very left-wing part of Texas.
But, you know, I'm not quick to go there.
Yeah.
Because I do believe that natural disasters happen. Yeah. And it's really not the fault of any one individual.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean, take another example. You know, I saw a couple people sarcastically. In fact, there was an article in a newspaper, you know, showing a picture of Ted Cruz in Europe, as if to say he's to blame for this. Now, Ted Cruz, of course, didn't know this was about to happen.
Yeah.
He's not even the governor of Texas.
Right.
He was on a normal, I mean, the government has been doing a lot of stuff, so they probably got a break. Ted Cruz says, all right, I'll take some time with my family. He apparently cuts his trip short. He rushes back. So in this case, there is nothing blameworthy.
It's ridiculous.
And it's just...
Oh, and the other thing that, you know, you had Augustus Dorico on.
Yeah, right.
This
Rainmaker.
past week, from the company Rainmaker, you had him on. And he is getting death threats. His family, his family's being doxxed, and they are getting death threats, which is just ridiculous.
You were just reading me some guy posting, saying, in effect, this guy was messing with the climate like days before. Now, look, as we discussed on the show, this is a company that's on the frontier of new technology. And as he laid out, the point of this technology is to identify areas of the state, and by the way, of the country, where there's drought, where farmers can't grow crops, and to ask if there are ways to use technology in a quite surgical and modest way to generate modest levels of rainfall where there is none.
Even if, which it wasn't the case because they stopped 2 days before, but let's just say that they hadn't. The amount of rain that cloud seeding produces is very tiny in comparison to what came down. So it was a case where, you know, the atmosphere was prime for that because of Barry.
The broader message here is that, you know, we are quick to point out the stupidities of the left, right? So the left says basically, you use fossil fuels, you're altering the climate of the planet. Now, the climate of the planet, the temperature of the Earth, has increased by about 1 degree to 1.5 degrees in 100 years, right? So these variations of climate that we see are normal. Some years it's hotter, some years it's colder. Some years we have hurricanes, some years we have fewer. But there's no obvious discernible pattern to this variability. Because think about it, if it was proportional to the amount of human carbon put into the atmosphere, there would be a straight line increase in these catastrophes. It wouldn't be up and down. It wouldn't be, okay, it was, we had it really bad, but it was as bad as it was in 1992, and that was the worst one since 1967. No. So, but if we are going to be skeptical of the left for saying stupid stuff, we shouldn't be generating stupid stuff on our own side.
Yeah.
I recognize, and I raised this with Augustus, as I'm like, listen, you know, you are, when we interfere with nature, we have to calibrate the longer term effects. Just like, by the way, it's kind of like saying, you know, you start interfering with human biology, you're going to have to consider the long-term effects of what you're doing. So caution is definitely in order, but this kind of quick to point the finger of blame.
It's a witch hunt. It reminds me of the Salem witch trials.
Well,
I mean, it's just mob mentality.
Yeah, and it's a confusion of correlation with cause, right? This guy was doing something over here. There was a catastrophe over there. Therefore, what he did caused the catastrophe. Not necessarily, right? It's kind of like saying, well, you know what? I'm sweating and I see a lot of melting asphalt on the road, so my perspiration is causing the melting asphalt. Actually, no, the sun is causing both. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have to be very careful that correlations aren't automatically taken to be cause and
you
effect.
have to, and also you just have to be really careful that you are not endangering somebody's life based on a false premise.
I mean, this guy's a conservative. He's, from his own testimony, a Christian. He's motivated by the relief of human suffering. He's motivated by trying to put technology to a good use.
Yeah.
And by the way, he's not saying that this technology over time, as it becomes more powerful, shouldn't be properly regulated. In fact, he says we need effective regulation. So it's very unfortunate that he's getting this kind of abuse. And
it really
in our view, it is totally undeserved.
Absolutely. So,
all right, let's move on. Let's talk about the Epstein list. I just saw Alan Dershowitz yesterday, I believe it was. And Alan Dershowitz says that he is under some sort of a consent decree. But he goes, I've seen the list. He goes, there is a list. He goes, there is a list of people who were regular attendees at Epstein's Island. And so the idea that there is no list.
Is he on that list?
Well, they had said that he was on the list. Now, he vehemently denies it. And not only that, but he admits that he had some dealings with Epstein, but he claims, you know, that these were in a legal context. He was never in any compromising situation, and that he says there's not a shred of evidence to the contrary. So, you know, I take him at his word at that, but he is someone reasonably close to the situation. So if he says, I've seen the list, there's got to be more there than they're letting on. I mean, don't you agree?
I do agree. But, you know, as you know, that of all of the things that are happening in this world, I'm going to say that's not on the top of my list.
You were saying that. You're really, that's the position of Trump, right? Trump's view is we're trying to fix the country.
Although maybe for a different reason.
Yeah, but I mean, his point is we've got really big things we're dealing with. Tariffs, we're dealing with the big, beautiful bill. The judges trying to thwart him. Why are we obsessed with Epstein? And I think here's why. I won't say I'm obsessed with it, but I think it is a priority, and here's why. There are two theories floating around, and they're not incompatible. Both could be true, or one could be true. Theory number one, that there are intelligence agencies, either of foreign governments or our own, who were using Epstein as a pawn. So, in other words, they told Epstein, you can do what you're doing. Just make sure that these cameras that you have in your apartments where all this compromised activity is going on, make sure we get a copy of all that footage. That would be, because we can then use it for the purposes of blackmail. That would be one possibility. Here's the second possibility. And that is, quite apart from the intelligence agencies, there are prominent Republicans and Democrats, and I'm talking about elected officials, donors, prominent institutional leaders on that list. And if it's from both parties, then neither party wants it to get out. And I'm not even saying that they are, like if Trump looks at the list, let's just say I'm Trump, and I look at the list and I see, for example, there are 3 senators and let's say a handful of congressmen on the list, right? I say to myself, I've got a 3 Senate majority in the Senate. If the list gets out, and let's just say these 3 Republicans have to resign, the Senate is now 50-50. We've lost the Republican Senate majority.
Or what if, remember there was a rumor that Roberts was on that list? Do you remember that? Chief Justice Roberts.
I do remember that. Well, I mean, what happened was, it made me laugh because they were looking at the Epstein logs.
Yeah.
And there is a name on there, John Roberts.
Yeah.
Right? Now, obviously, it doesn't say Chief Justice John Roberts.
No, but he wouldn't have been Chief Justice then.
He wouldn't have been Chief Justice. Now, admittedly, this is like having the name Tom Smith.
No,
because
I get that. But what if it really was him? And maybe that's the reason.
Interesting. Well, let's just say that the fact that they have closed the file, and they have really closed the file, and they've closed the file to such a degree, I saw yesterday that Prince Andrew has now been cleared to visit America. He had been on some kind of a ban because, of course, he was compromised by the Epstein case. They've closed the case. So it's like it never happened.
Wow.
And yet we have one guy who's dead, Epstein,
yeah,
and another woman who's in jail.
Why did he commit suicide then?
And why is Ghislaine Maxwell serving a 20-year prison sentence?
I don't know.
Is it because they had, girls who came and massaged him? This doesn't make any sense. So
yeah, I mean, look, we have a lot of conspiracy theorists like on our side for sure,
right.
to be sure.
Yeah.
And it only feeds the fire. I mean, it does. It only fuels the flame because everybody's going to want to know why.
And it fuels the opponents of Trump. I mean, I see that some people on the kind of anti-Trump right, they're like, of course, we always told you MAGA's a fraud, Trump is a fraud.
Mm-hmm.
They promised to do this. They've said they would release it. The second thing it's doing is it's empowering the critics of Kash Patel and Dan Bongino.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this is unfair in this sense, that there is no way that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino are saying, we're going to make a decision to suppress this list. The people who say on social media, and there are quite a few of them, they're compromised, they've become part of the deep state. This is all nonsense. But what is not nonsense is that if Kash Patel and Dan have the list, somebody else higher than them is then saying to them, you can't release it. Now, that is a very small group of people, right? Because if somebody comes to Kash Patel, let's just say it's John Ratcliffe, head of the CIA, and he says, guys, I don't want that list released. If I were Kash Patel or Dan, I would just call the White House. And I would say, may I speak to the president? I'm getting a demand from the CIA not to release the list. I thought you wanted, Mr. President, us to release the list. What's your decision? So what I'm getting at is the decision has to be coming from the highest levels. That's why I went back into, because I'm not far from engaging in a conspiracy theory. I'm just outlining rationally what are the possibilities. It has to be this or it has to be that. It really can't be anything else. And it can't be that there's nothing there. There is something there. Some people don't want us to know what that is. And here are the reasons potentially why. The administration has their sleeves rolled up and streamlining some pretty monumental moves right now. Well, it's difficult for them to take your personal finances into account when trying to do what's right for the country. You have to do that. And that's why tens of thousands of Americans are buying gold from Birch Gold. Here are some facts. In the past 12 months, the value of gold has increased by 40%. Central banks are bolstering demand for gold by buying in record quantities. Global instability and tension is among the highest in decades. So all of this suggests that you might be able to find some security, some peace of mind in gold. Birch Gold makes it easy for you to convert an existing IRA or 401k into a tax-sheltered IRA in gold, or you can just buy some physical gold to store at home. How do you get started? Text my name Dinesh to 989898. Birch Gold will send you a free information kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. Birch Gold has an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, tens of thousands of happy customers. Birch Gold can help you. Protect your savings today. Text the word Dinesh to 989898. I'm always happy to talk to you about the amazing people at PhD Weight Loss. We've tried it. It works for us. Debbie lost 24 pounds. I lost 27. This is 2 years ago, and we have kept the weight off. It's basically our new way of life eating, and we love it. The program is really simple. They do the planning for you. All you have to do is follow the plan just like we did. It's customized to your personal needs, to your schedule. This is not a one-size-fits-all plan. They even provide 80% of your food at no additional cost. There are no drugs, no injections, no expensive medication. This is 100% science-based nutrition. The plan teaches your body to heal itself. You meet with your nutritionist every week. If you have questions, you just call or email. You're never alone. You always have support. It focuses on removing the inflammation from your body, so inflammatory diseases like high cholesterol, high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes are always reduced and often eliminated. The first 10 callers who mentioned Dinesh get 2 free weeks added to their program. Plus, when you fully commit, you get 15% off your entire program. Give them a call right now, 864-644-1900. Don't forget to mention the word Dinesh for a load of savings. The number again, 864-644-1900. I want to talk about the big, beautiful bill because I think that even though the one bad thing about the bill has been highlighted, Elon Musk has been on the rampage, he's talked about a third party, and we can say a word about that. But the good elements of this bill are now going to start kicking in, you know? So for example, we've been living under the Trump tax cuts. If it wasn't for this bill, we would see an upward surge in taxation. That's not going to happen. These tax cuts have now been consolidated. Great. Number two, the unlocking of energy. All kinds of energy drilling. This is going to be good for gas prices. It's going to reduce our reliance on foreign countries. Very good. Interestingly, although there's an increase in funding for defense, which I think in some ways is needed, modernization, things that didn't happen under Biden is going to happen now. But a decrease of funding for the IRS. So remember they were talking about hiring all those 80,000 agents. That's not going to happen. So there's a scaling back of the IRS. So what I'm getting at is the Trump priorities one by one, and I haven't even mentioned immigration, 10,000 new agents, a lot more immigration enforcement, and it's going to be very difficult. You know, you were saying a day or so ago that when the Democrats come out against ICE, when they are militantly supporting these...
I mean, somebody's funding these thugs to go kill these ICE agents. Who is doing that?
I mean, when you have an Antifa ring that is heavily armed, that is ambushing an ICE site, I mean, they could have had massive casualties. They did shoot one guy in the neck, and that's bad enough. But they had a trove of ammunition, all kinds of weaponry. And this was the most organized Antifa
and then
attack.
There was one, I think, a day before that with in McAllen, this one guy, you know. But who is fueling that? Like, who is funding it? Who's coordinating it? And again, Democrats are going to be known for the party of illegals and for the party of criminals, whether they like it or not. Actually, I think they might like it because they are backing it.
They are backing it, and they're counting on the fact that, at least in the cities, which is where they have their strength, that it's not going to matter. I mean, look at Mamdani. He is pro-criminal. He is defund the police in a city where safety is really important. I mean, Manhattan, as you know, is really tiny. A tremendous amount of high-end business goes on in Manhattan. There's the Diamond District, the Meatpacking District, Wall Street, the publishing world, all kinds of high-end stores. An unsafe New York is not New York. The people are going to start leaving. Stores are going to start closing down.
A socialist New York would not have all those things either.
A socialist New York would not have all those things either. And we'll come back to Mamdani. But before we get to Mamdani, any thoughts about the third party and the Elon Musk expedition? I'm kind of hoping he just Because Elon is a guy who he focuses on certain things and then he drops them. I'm just hoping he gets over this one.
You know, I think this would be unintended consequences from the principled people that think that, you know, that we're gonna bankrupt the country. Well, by default, they're going to cause that if the Democrats get a hold of the Senate, the Congress, the White House, because you know that the left doesn't care about finances. They don't care about the debt. So by doing this, they're pulling the rug right from under any future of us railing in the spending, because you know that the Democrats never will. So unfortunately, the consequence of a third party is going to be the very opposite of what they want.
We were talking about Massie, and Massie is, contrary to what some people are implying, he's not a rhino. Trump hates him. Trump is actually going to try to have him defeated in the primary. They've apparently created a pact to do that. But Massie is a case where you have a guy who's to the right of Trump. In other words, you have someone who is a dug-in conservative and somebody who actually wants deep cuts in spending. The problem for Massie is this. He has to know, he does know deep down, that there is not a political majority to do what he wants. There just isn't. He probably cannot get that majority even among the Republicans to do the kind of cuts he wants. So he's out there in the House all by himself, kind of the way Rand Paul is in the Senate. So what Massie then does is goes, I'm a really principled guy, and so I'm going to keep voting no until I get my way. But it's so utopian because he's never going to get his way. And not only that, but he makes the best the enemy of the good. So in other words, you take a bill, the big, beautiful bill, it has some bad things in it, but it has a lot of good things in it. Now, Massie could say, on balance, I still think it's the bad outweighs the good. But the problem with Massie is you can say, all right, I'll keep adding more good things, and he'll still vote against it. So he doesn't care ultimately about doing the cost-benefit analysis. He cares about the fact that unless you reduce the spending in a manner that's going to make me fiscally at ease, I'm going to vote no, right? And I don't know if he's doing this as a theatrical for show. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and say he's not doing it for show. He genuinely has the view, if we don't stop this spending, the country goes off the precipice.
But it's going to go off the precipice if we lose the election again.
That is true.
It's going to. So he's going to help Elon achieve that. And again, what are they going to do then? What are they going to do? They're not going to be able to do anything.
I mean, the irony is that Elon Musk thinks that he is starting a party for the great majority in the middle.
Yeah, that's
But
not
think
true.
about this. If that is true, how is it that his only allies right now, basically, and they're not even fully his allies, because it's not like Rand Paul has said, I'm leaving the Republican Party to join the America Party. No, but his allies are really two. He's got basically Massie, he's got Rand Paul. So that alone should tell him that there's a lot of work to do, to put it mildly.
Yeah, but also, though, the only thing that's going to achieve, it's going to get those people that are maybe libertarians, maybe, super like, oh no, fiscally, I'm only a conservative fiscally, but I vote Republican. So instead of voting Republican, I'm going to vote for the America Party. Well, that portion we're going to lose. And it really can be the Ross Perot effect again. Do we want that? I mean, don't people regret the Ross Perot vote that they did because we got Clinton? I mean, don't they regret that?
They did. Now, Musk we're very much at the very beginning of this. In fact, really the first day or two after this was announced, you might have seen there was a seeming filing with the FEC, the Federal Election Commission, and it looked like America Party, email, Elon Musk, and then you had some weird Indian guy who was apparently like the face of the party.
I've seen parodies of it, but I haven't seen
no. So Elon Musk has now come out and said that that's a fake. that apparently someone, I don't know if they did that as a
it's
joke,
a parody.
that it's not a real filing, and that he has actually made some kind of an official complaint, because I mean the tone deafness of having like, and in fact people were making funny memes of like, 72 Indian guys who all all H-1B visa guys who have somehow made up this new party.
Oh no. Yeah.
But Musk on the balance, I mean, I've always admired this guy. I think his step to buy Twitter is huge. He's changed the face of free speech in America.
I'm still shadow banned on Twitter, though.
You are shadow banned on Twitter,
still,
and I don't understand it, right? Because why would they ban you and not me?
I don't know.
Yeah, but you were essentially.
I don't have that many. I surpassed 100K followers on Twitter.
Right.
In 2021, I was up to like 130. I have been 95.8 for 5 years.
Right, and not only that, but you sometimes will say, "Hey, retweet me."
Oh yeah,
and I have 5 million followers, and you think you'd get 1,000, 2,000. No, you don't even get like 10. So this means that there is an algorithm in place. I'm sure you're not the only one on it. There's a group of.
I used to be kind of violent, actually. I have
not violent.
I've reformed, not violent in that sense, but I was a little more aggressive.
So what?
Yeah, but I'm not like that anymore. But it doesn't matter.
No, and I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think that there were, in the regime of Jack Dorsey, which, by the way, was in itself a Biden-esque regime, by which I mean Jack Dorsey was sitting on a sacred pillar doing neo-Buddhist meditation, and Vijaya Gadde and all these Parag Agarwal, all these bad characters were rigging Twitter. That's when this happened to you, and it hasn't been undone. I think that's the point. Okay, let's talk about Zoran Mamdani and socialism. We finally have a guy. We've been hearing about the Squad, and the Squad is socialistic in that they have certain policies, but Mamdani is a hardcore. I mean, Trump even called him a communist. I wouldn't go that far, because I think communism is an ideology of political tyranny combined with socialist economics, right?
Well, I think his is. I think I would call his Islamo-communist.
Right. In fact, who's the guy that we have a friend, Matthew Faraci, who's on X, and he came up with the phrase, what is it? Islamunist.
Islamunist.
Is an Islamunist.
I think that's accurate, actually.
Yeah. And so you think the communist is not going too far?
I don't think so, no.
Because you're saying that embedded in these guys is always, because think about it, what is socialism? It is a state-run economy, right? So it is state control. And you're saying if they're willing to do state control in the economic sphere, who's to say that they won't use state control in every other sphere?
No, I don't.
Right?
I mean,
censorship, restriction of who can come in or leave New York, restrictions on whether you can sell your apartment, restrictions on your Second Amendment rights. He's probably basically socialist across the board.
And what have you read about Venezuela?
Well, basically, Eric Adams is now saying, and Eric Adams, very interesting, I don't think he would speak like this in the past. He's like, Mamdani is taking us down the road to Venezuela. That Mamdani wants rent control. He wants to take over high-rise condos that he claims are, quote, investment properties. No one's living in them, so I can take them over and basically give them out to whoever I want.
Hugo Chavez.
This is very Hugo Chavez, the scene. You actually alerted us to this. Hugo Chavez is walking down the street and confiscating properties.
Expropriate this, expropriate that. Businesses, condos. You're not living in your condo? Come on, homeless person. You camp out in their condo, and if they come back from their trip, it's no longer their condo.
Right. Call us, and we'll make sure you can stay there. That's amazing stuff.
Yeah. And groceries. I mean, like if he does a
state-run grocery store,
the same thing. You get an allotment. Today, you can buy one loaf of bread. You can't come back and buy another one.
Now, in fairness to Mamdani, he is saying and by the way, I talked about this, how he's running some bogus economics. He thinks there's some money in the budget, which there isn't.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, I'll use this money
Mm-hmm.
to create 5 grocery stores.
Sorry.
I think he means one in each borough, right? One in Manhattan, one in the Queens, one in the
Mhm.
Bronx. So he would say, or at least his defenders would say, he's not talking about taking over the grocery supply of New York.
Mm-hmm.
He's talking about having single, but
At
what
least
I
that's
think,
what he says.
or like you say, that's the beginning,
Oh yes.
right? I mean,
Oh,
even
yes.
Hugo Chavez
Yeah,
began slowly.
Yeah. To be honest, if you were to ask me, what do you think is more dangerous for this guy to take New York down the path of socialism or to take New York down the path of Sharia? I would have to say Sharia.
Right. Now, there's every indication so far. Now, Mamdani is...
It would be really difficult for local government to be socialist and state and federal not.
Right. And Trump has, by the way, said something like, look, if things get out of hand over there, we'll just have to take it over.
Mhm.
Like,
But there are cities like Dearborn, Michigan, that
Right.
when you see videos of them, you're like, wait, is that Iran?
is that
is that-
Jordan?
is that Jordan? What-
UAE?
Oh, wait, that's Dearborn, Michigan. Uh-oh,
And we've seen those videos also all over England.
Oh, yes.
Right? You
No,
have
and they're
whole-
called no-go zones. So you can't go to those zones if you're
Right.
not Muslim.
And well, initially I thought that these no-go zones were like, 5 streets, but it now seems that you've got whole towns where
Cities.
the mayor is an Islamic,
Cities.
not an Islamic mullah, but essentially
Kind of.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're talking about an Islamic activist, to
Yeah.
put it mildly,
Mhm.
who is very much part of that elaborate
Mhm.
network of the Muslim Brotherhood. So
Mhm.
let's spell it out here a little bit. I of course had Imam Tahiri on the podcast, and I think Tahiri's a really good guy. What he's trying to do is restore, I would call it, a kind of original Islam in contrast to radical Islam. And what Tahiri is saying is that the Islamism, as he puts it, that we're seeing now is a misappropriation of Islam. So I think it's actually good. We often talk about where are the good mullahs who are trying to do their part. He is one of them. But the question is, how influential is he compared to, I think he would also admit that like the Muslim Brotherhood is feeding its literature, its propaganda into mosques worldwide. And therefore the other side, as he would have it, is got far more traction than he does, even though he's doing his doing his best. Mike Lindell and MyPillow employees want to thank you, my listeners and viewers, for your continued support. Mike has a passion to help everyone get the best sleep of your life. He didn't stop with just creating the best pillow. He created the best bed sheets. And I want to talk to you about the Percale bed sheets. Mike is offering a set for as low as $24.98. Great deal. The MyPillow Percale sheets are breathable. They have a cool, crisp feel. They have deep pockets to fit over any mattress. They look and feel great, which means an even better night's sleep for me, which is important for my busy schedule. For a limited time, when you order over $100, you get $100 in free digital gifts. Call 800-876-0227. The number again, 800-876-0227, or go to mypillow.com. Make sure to use promo code Dinesh. You get the MyPillow Percale sheets for as low as $24.98. Let's talk about Russia collusion. I had Miranda Devine on the podcast, just yesterday, and I think the real question here is twofold. One, are we going to see any consequences for Clapper, Comey, Brennan? And two, which I think is even more remote, by the way, Hillary or Obama, because they are the masterminds.
Yeah, well, you were talking just now about the fact that Kash Patel and Dan Bongino have all of a sudden said, we're not releasing any, there is nothing there. So you're like, they're not the ones in charge. They really aren't. They get their directives from someone higher up, right? So
remember, the FBI reports to the DOJ. That's Pam Bondi.
Right.
And Pam Bondi reports to Trump.
Right. So who then reported? Who did they report to? You know, Brennan and Comey. Who did they report to? Obama.
Yes.
Holder. Right.
Right. Holder and Obama. So, and we know that, and Miranda talked about this, that Obama had an infamous meeting. All these guys were there. Comey was there. Brennan was there. I don't know if Clapper was there, but I think he was. And it explicitly came up, hey, the Hillary people want to get Trump on this Russia collusion. And I think what Obama said is, let's help them. Now, how can Obama help them? Well, here's how he can help them. He can help them by creating an intelligence apparatus that creates a fake assessment. But in order that nobody finds out it's fake, classify it. So once you classify it, it is essentially now in the clouds. It is now in hiding. It's in a locker, right? But since it's in a locker, there's something in there. You can now go and leak to the media whatever you want to. The media will never see what's in the locker. They will take your word for it. But you say, hey, listen, I'm not just making this up. There is an intelligence assessment. So the intelligence assessment is itself fake. Then you leak it to an eager media, which has the knives already drawn out for Trump. And they were, as Miranda said, successfully able to paralyze a Republican presidency for 2 full years based upon this. So, see,
Wow.
What's funny is when I saw a report about Brennan, Barbara McQuaid, who's a left-wing pundit, says something like, it's retribution time for Trump. And I'm thinking, exactly right. If you have illicitly paralyzed my presidency for 2 years on a bogus suspicion, I deserve retribution. Retribution is another name for justice. You tried to get me, lock me up, discredit me, and you failed. You tried to ruin me. Now it's my turn to ruin you. So I don't even say, some people are like, well, don't talk about retribution. We're talking about upholding the law. We are upholding the law. We are talking about justice. Retribution is a synonym for justice in this case.
Well, they were lawless to do
They
what
were
they
lawless to do it. And Trump should really use every tool at his disposal to punish them, not only because they richly deserve it, but to send a message that this is not going to happen again.
Yeah. But the dear boy Obama, he's not going to ever get that. He's never going. He is such a well-protected person that I believe no one will ever get him.
Why is that? Do you think that that's because, if, let's just say, I don't think Pam Bondi would do this, but let's just say
no,
that...
exactly. Pam Bondi wouldn't do it, but Eric Holder would.
Eric Holder would. Let's say that there is a Matt Gaetz, who was obviously Trump's original nominee. Doesn't matter who that is. That person indicts Obama. Are you saying, what do they have to worry about? Do they have to, when you say he's so protected, by whom? Are they worried about riots on the street? Are they worried about...
Yes, that.
So?
Well, they're worried that, he was, like I said, he's so well connected, well protected.
He would have law firms defending him. He would have a massive media outcry. My point is, I always come to the question of so what? Because if a guy isn't... Now, here would be my worry. If Obama is tried in Washington, D.C., it would be almost impossible to get...
Well, he would be exonerated.
Exactly.
100%.
Right. So the question then becomes, is it possible...
He can come to our town.
Right. Well, not even our town. Is it possible to indict him in Virginia, where he would be tried by a more balanced jury, which wouldn't be what I call the January 6th juries?
Yeah, somebody's enamored with him. It would be
A hung
A
jury
hung
at best.
jury at best. Yeah. He's just never gonna. I mean, I just don't. I don't see it.
And the other thing is the Clintons. I mean, look at
Yeah.
those guys. These people, think
Oh
of what
my
they've been
gosh.
involved with, right? Going all the way back to Whitewater. Think of Clinton was
Slick.
credibly
Well,
charged
why do you
with.
think he was called Slick Willie?
Right. Exactly. He was very much implicated in the failure to get bin Laden before 9/11.
Oh yeah.
He had multiple chances to get him. He didn't. And he was somehow no accountability. So they have lived a charmed life, I have to say.
They have.
I don't think they have a charmed marriage, but they've lived a charmed life. By the way, speaking of
The
charmed,
Obamas don't either. It looks like, huh?
you know, it's coming out, and it's actually coming out from Michelle. Now, Michelle has put out 4 or 5 more than hints, because she has flat out said, she even said something like, well, you know, I'm sort of glad we didn't have a boy. He would have turned out like Barack. And the implication was, thank God, one Barack is too much to handle.
Yeah.
Right? So she does not admire him.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have genuine affection for him, it
Yeah.
doesn't look like.
No.
She seems to have largely separated her life from him. And she is now, well, first of all, you made an interesting statement, which was, you said the two of them are narcissists linked to each other, right? But they are each the sun and the moon together in their own mind. So
Yeah.
Obama's son, by son here I mean S-U-N, the sun, is Obama. And Michelle's moon is Michelle. And so this makes for a very bad relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now there are some people who think, you know, Michelle is a man and their relationship is perverted in that way. We don't think that. But what does seem apparent is that they have, if they ever were close, and that's itself doubtful, they're pretty distant now.
Mm.
Michelle is, by the way, I think it's great that she's doing this podcast, because the level of abuse she gets from her own podcast is volcanic. I think it's because there was a myth cultivated in the Obama presidency. In fact, even you bought into it to a degree, because you'd be like, I hope Michelle Obama doesn't run. And I'd be like, don't worry about Michelle.
I said Michelle or Oprah.
Michelle
Remember?
or Oprah. But you thought she would be Michelle, a formidable candidate. And I knew that Michelle has always been a dud.
Yeah, I know. But look
And
at
it's
how,
now coming out.
Look at how many people voted for Kamala Harris. I mean, the
Right.
fact that she got that many votes, I don't know how many were legit, but
But she got a lot of
she got a
legit
lot of
votes.
votes,
Yeah,
right?
she got a lot of votes.
I think that people are just that dumb. I really do.
Yeah, there's no question that ultimately when a country goes down, it goes down because its leadership is bad and corrupted. But
Mhm.
how does the leadership get so corrupted? It's because the citizenry is corrupted. And they ultimately, I mean, this is what happened in the Roman Empire, that you had a deterioration. The Roman legions weren't as formidable as they used to be. And the Roman senators were not of the quality that they used to be. And the Roman emperors became increasingly perverted. But behind all that, you had a corrupt citizenry
Mhm.
that had itself become degraded and debased and lost its moral compass and lost its kind of
Lost its
physical
way.
hardness that it had. The hardness that
Yeah.
built the empire was gone. And the question we have to ask, and this would be the hardest question for MAGA to ask, is the hardness that built America something that you can actually restore? And I think that remains a little bit of an open question. Let's turn to our final topic, and it's Hollywood. So let me tell you about this new Superman movie. The Superman
Starring
movie.
Brandon Gill. I'm just kidding.
No, I know it is funny. It is funny these days, because our friend Bruce told me, he goes, read Brandon's comments, and
Yeah.
a number of people.
And the funny thing is, Brandon's only 31, so he probably doesn't even know really, who this guy is. Like, who's Christopher Reeves?
He wasn't raised on
no.
Christopher Reeve
Yeah,
or
yeah.
that.
Yeah, because
idea.
I saw Superman in like 1980, which was well before those characters were born, right? So, but they do have a similar look.
Yeah, and more than look, it's something also in their manner, which conveys that. But back to the Superman movie.
Yeah.
So the director or the main guy in the movie was giving an interview, and he goes, Superman is an immigrant. Think about this, right? And he goes, Superman is an immigrant, and he is here to teach us the value of the outsider, the value of compassion, the value of love.
Let me guess, he's an MS-13 gang member.
Exactly. So I posted, are you talking about Kilmar Obrego's Superman? Is this?
I didn't even know that. I didn't know you.
Well, this is what this guy is going for, right?
Oh,
and not only that, but he takes it one step further and he goes, and if you're not on board with it, you're not an American. Think about this. So I'm thinking to myself, first of all, you tried this woke routine, Disney did, right before Snow White.
Epic fail.
Massive bomb. And then they didn't even get it. They thought they were blaming the actress, even though, yes, the actress contributed to it, but it was a woke plot. It was woke from top to bottom. And here, it's not just that the director's message is bad. It's that you have a director directing a movie and he doesn't get what makes the movie successful.
Well, who's the actor?
I'm not sure who the actor is, because we're not talking here about the Superman character. But remember, the actor is going to follow the direction of the director, right? If the whole idea here... Now, Superman, in the story of Superman, is coming in from the outside, but he's not an illegal who sneaks across a fence. You know what I mean? Superman ultimately is related to a cosmic...
Kryptonite.
Well, a cosmic struggle between good and evil, which is given a certain animated or comic representation, right? Here's the Marvel comics. Here you have Superman, you have the evil guy, you have the Joker. And so the rivalry between the cosmic good guy, and that's really the plot of Superman. If you don't get that, and but what happens is you have this director, this obvious freakoid, and he comes in, he goes, that's not what it's about. It's not really about good and evil, or it is about good and evil, but the good is the Kilmar Abrego Superman, and the evil is all the people who don't want...
Who are trying to stop him.
So this is Hollywood circa...
Que loco.
Right? And they put hundreds of millions of dollars into these movies.
Oh, yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, they're going to destroy... I mean, they're sinking the whole Hollywood ship. But I think, it's like Harvard. Isn't it a good thing at some level? Because they...
Well, that's why we support the Angel Guild Network.
We support the Angel Guild. We make movies ourselves.
Exactly, that we want to get out of that Hollywood mold and just let people know, you know what, you have an alternative. You don't have to watch these crazy movies.
Yeah.
We have really good movies that you can watch instead. Why don't you try doing that?
We do need a type of Netflix, because Netflix is very ideological.
Oh, yeah.
It is probably worth mentioning, there's no reason not to, that Netflix purchased one of our movies for a lot of money, 7 figures, to be honest. They bought it, they bought the rights to it, and they decided never to show it.
They did not show it.
Right? So what are they doing? They're essentially paying money to take a movie out of circulation. And they're rich enough that they can afford to do this.
And the funny thing is, people all ask, oh, is the movie going to be on Netflix? Because they innocently don't know that Netflix is super left-wing.
Super left-wing. And the head of Reed Hastings, one of the key founders of Netflix, is an Obama worshiper.
Isn't Obama on the board?
Well, I don't know if he's on the board, but they gave him an ungodly amount of money to make films. Think about it. Obama doesn't even know how to make a film. You have this low IQ guy from Occidental College. And all Obama's titles are fake, by the way. Isn't it interesting these days when, information is being leaked, like Mamdani's, how he tried to pose as a black guy? I would love to see leaked Obama's grades.
It's not going to happen.
Obama's thesis at Columbia, which I'm sure is as semi-illiterate as Michelle's.
This is why I say he's well protected and connected.
He's well protected. He's well connected. And I mean, think of it, the ability to get Columbia University to suppress your grades and suppress your thesis. Maybe the Trump administration to say, we'll allow you to keep your tax-exempt status. Let us see Obama's grades.
Subscribe to the Dinesh D'Souza podcast on Apple, Google, and Spotify, or watch on Rumble, YouTube, and SalemNow.com.